Pregnancy isn't a medical emergency, Mr. Hayes. I sat in that uncomfortable plastic chair, staring at the insurance office workers, whose eyes held nothing but cold indifference. My hand rested on my small baby bump, and my heart was hammering so hard, I thought they could hear it. I was an omega sing, and I was just now realizing that my health insurance claim had been rejected. But I have a full coverage plan, I said, my voice trembling despite my best efforts to sound confident. It includes delivery complications. I checked everything when I signed up for this policy. The woman behind the desk, her name tag read Miss Brennan, pushed her glasses up and looked at me like I was a child who couldn't understand basic math. Your policy contains fine print, Mr. Hayes. Omega pregnancies that are unplanned and without documented alpha partner verification are excluded from coverage. My mouth fell open. Excluded? I hadn't come here to be told this. I hadn't come here to learn that my baby, who was breathing inside me right now, whose heartbeat I felt every night when I tried to sleep, was somehow outside the policy. This is wrong, I managed to say, though my voice had lost all its strength. I placed my paperwork on her desk with shaking hands. This is discrimination. The Omega Rights Act clearly states, don't lecture me about acts, Miss Brennan cut me off sharply. Our legal department is very robust. If you want to file a complaint, go ahead. But your claim? Denied. Then she closed my file. Just like that. As if my entire future, my baby's future, didn't matter at all. I stood there for a moment, frozen. The office's air conditioning blew cold air across my face, but I felt hot, burning with anger, shame, and helplessness. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. This was the same office that had shown me advertisements promising comprehensive Omega healthcare. The same company that had assured me that no matter what happened, I would be safe. It was all lies. I walked out onto the sidewalk. The afternoon sun was harsh, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. How was I supposed to manage this? The delivery costs alone, the ultrasounds, the prenatal vitamins, and if there were complications. I was a waiter at a small downtown cafe. I didn't have that kind of money saved. I didn't have anyone to help me. My phone rang suddenly, making me jump. Unknown number. Hello? I answered cautiously. Mr. Alan Hayes? The voice was deep, incredibly deep, and there was something about it that felt commanding. Authoritative in a way that made my Omega instincts go on high alert. Why yes, I stammered. My name is Gage Lawson. I'm the chairman of Silver Peak Insurance. You're gonna come to my headquarters right now. A car will arrive at your location in 3 minutes. The line went dead before I could respond. I stared at my phone in disbelief. The chairman of the entire insurance company calling me personally? My brain couldn't process what was happening. This had to be some kind of mistake. People like him didn't call people like me. But exactly 3 minutes later, just as he'd said, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb in front of me. The driver rolled down the window and spoke in a crisp, professional tone. Mr. Hayes, please get in. I hesitated for only a second before climbing into the back seat. The interior smelled like expensive leather and something else. Something faintly alpha, though carefully suppressed. As the car pulled away from the curb, I pressed my hand against my belly again, trying to calm my racing thoughts. What did the chairman want with me? Was this about my complaint? Had Miss Brennan reported me for threatening legal action? My mind spun through a dozen possibilities. None of them good. The city blurred past the tinted windows as we drove through downtown. I recognized the route. We were heading toward the financial district, where all the massive corporate towers stood like glass and steel giants. My little apartment was 40 minutes away from here by bus. I'd never had any reason to come to this part of the city before. When the car finally stopped, I looked up and felt my breath catch. Silver Peak Insurance headquarters was enormous. The building seemed to stretch endlessly into the sky. All gleaming windows and modern architecture. I felt incredibly small just looking at it. The driver opened my door. Mr. Lawson is expecting you on the top floor. Security will escort you. I nodded mutely and stepped out. A security guard was already waiting by the entrance. He didn't ask questions, didn't make me sign in or show identification. He simply led me through the pristine lobby, past employees in expensive suits who didn't even glance my way, straight to a private elevator. The elevator ride felt like it lasted forever. My reflection stared back at me from the polished metal walls. I looked exactly like what I was. a struggling Omega waiter in my cheap jacket and worn jeans, completely out of place in this world of corporate power and wealth. My hand went to my stomach again. Whatever happened next, I had to think about my baby first. When the elevator doors finally opened, I stepped into what could only be described as a corner office suite. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the entire city. The furniture looked like it cost more than my annual salary. And standing by the window, his back to me, was a man in a perfectly tailored black suit. He turned around and I forgot how to breathe. Gage Lawson was nothing like I'd imagined. I'd pictured some old executive with gray hair and a permanent scowl. But this man was young. Maybe in his early 30s. He had sharp features, a strong jawline, and the coldest gray eyes I'd ever seen. And his scent hit me like a physical force. Cedar wood. Smoke. Pure alpha dominance. My hand automatically went to my belly in a protective gesture. Every Omega instinct I had was screaming at me to either submit or run. And I couldn't decide which. Sit down, he said. His voice was soft, but it wasn't a request. It was an order. I sat in the chair across from his desk, my legs feeling weak. He moved closer, perching on the edge of his desk so he could look directly into my eyes. Do you know why I called you here? No, I admitted, hating how small my voice sounded. Because, he said, and there was something terrifyingly calm about the way he spoke. My company has committed a serious injustice against you. I blinked in shock. You know about what happened? I know about every case where my company has discriminated against Omegas, Gage said quietly. And yours? Yours was the worst one I've seen. He pulled out his phone and turned the screen toward me. I saw Miss Brennan's employee file, her complete record, and beneath that, hundreds of rejected Omega claims. All of them pregnant. All of them marked as unplanned or partner unverified. This was all planned? My voice cracked. All of it? Gage set his phone down on the desk between us, his gray eyes never leaving mine. It was a scheme, he explained, his voice carrying an edge of barely controlled anger. Take the premiums, deny the claims, hide behind legal loopholes. People like you, vulnerable, alone, desperate, made easy targets. I only discovered this data last night when I ordered an internal audit. My hands clenched into fists. All those months of paying my insurance premiums, believing I was protected, all those nights I'd slept easier thinking that at least my baby would be taken care of. It had all been a lie designed to steal from people exactly like me. But not anymore, Gage continued. He slid a file folder across the desk toward me. Open it. My hands shook as I picked up the folder. Inside was a document with an official company seal at the top. As I read the words, I felt the air leave my lungs. This is a nationwide policy review notice, I whispered, barely able to process what I was seeing. You're reviewing every single policy in the entire company? I'm doing more than reviewing them, Gage said, leaning forward slightly. His alpha scent intensified, wrapping around me. I'm restructuring the entire company from the ground up. New policies, new ethics, new leadership. He pointed to a specific paragraph in the document. Your claim will be approved first. Full coverage for everything. Your delivery, hospital stay, postnatal care, everything. And after that, every other Omega who was denied will have their cases reopened. Tears welled up in my eyes before I could stop them. Why? I asked. You don't even know me. Why would you do this? Something shifted in Gage's expression. The cold corporate mask slipped for just a moment, and I saw genuine pain underneath. Because my mother was an Omega, he said quietly. Single, pregnant with me. And the company that denied her claim was this one, Silver Peak Insurance. I was too young to do anything about it then. She died from complications that could have been prevented if she'd had proper medical care. The silence that followed was heavy with meaning. I understood now. This wasn't just about fixing a corrupt system. This was personal for him. I inherited this company when I turned 25. Gage continued. I thought I'd cleaned it up, made it better. But clearly I missed something. The rot went deeper than I realized. He stood up and walked back to the window, his broad shoulders tense. I won't let what happened to my mother happen to anyone else. Not on my watch. I wiped my eyes, trying to compose myself. What do you need from me? Gage turned back to face me. I need you to be the face of this change. Your story, your struggle, people need to hear it. The media, The public, other omegas who are suffering silence. I need someone real, not a corporate spokesperson reading from a script. My heart started racing again. You want me to go public with all of this? Yes, he said simply. I want you to partner with me. Stand beside me at press conferences. Help me rebuild this company into what it should have been all along. A place that actually protects people instead of exploiting them. I looked down at my hands at the small bump beneath my shirt. Going public meant exposing everything. My pregnancy, my situation, the fact that I was a single omega with no alpha partner. People would judge me. They'd call me careless, irresponsible. Some would say I deserved what happened. But then I thought about all those other files on Gage's phone. Hundreds of omegas just like me. All denied, all suffering. If my story could help even one of them, what exactly would this partnership involve? I asked carefully. Gage returned to his desk and pulled out another folder. This is a contract. It outlines everything, your compensation, your responsibilities, the protection measures we'll put in place. You'll receive a monthly stipend, housing assistance, and complete medical coverage through a separate verified provider. You'll also have 24/7 security. He slid the contract across to me. I opened it and began reading through the terms. The numbers made my head spin. The monthly payment alone was 3 times what I made working full-time at the cafe. The medical coverage was comprehensive beyond anything I'd imagined. And the housing assistance. This says you're providing accommodation. I noted, looking up at him. My penthouse has a guest suite, Gage explained. It's the most secure location I can offer, and it'll make it easier for us to coordinate our public appearances. You'll have complete privacy, your own space. But you'll also have immediate access to help if you need it. I felt my face flush. You want me to live with you? I want you to be safe, he corrected. Once this goes public, there will be backlash. Threats? Probably. People who don't want to see the system change. I can't protect you if you're alone in some apartment across the city. He had a point. I hated that he had a point. The contract is for 1 year initially, Gage continued. After that, we can renegotiate terms if you want to continue. Or you can walk away with everything you've earned. No strings attached. I read through the contract again, more carefully this time. There was a clause about public appearances, at least 2 per month. Another about media training, which the company would provide. A confidentiality agreement, but only regarding company financial data, not about my own experiences or story. It was fair. More than fair. It was generous to the point of being almost unbelievable. If I sign this, I said slowly, and I go public with everything, people are going to assume the baby is yours. Gage didn't even blink. Let them assume. We'll tell the truth. That you're my business partner, nothing more. That this baby is yours, and you have every right to raise them however you please. People will believe what they want to believe. But we'll be clear about the facts. I set the contract down and met his eyes. You realize this could destroy your reputation. Associating with a single pregnant omega. People will think you're either the father trying to hide it, or you're being manipulated. Either way, it won't look good for the chairman of a major insurance company. I don't care what it looks like, Gage said firmly. I care about doing what's right. My reputation can survive some gossip. Can yours? That was the real question, wasn't it? Could I handle being in the spotlight, having my life dissected by strangers, being judged by people who didn't know anything about my situation? I thought about my baby again, about the future I wanted to give them, a future where they didn't grow up in poverty, where they had opportunities I never had, where they never had to feel the shame and fear I'd felt sitting in that insurance office this morning. Just the truth, I said, making my decision. You only want me to tell the truth about what happened? Gage nodded. Nothing more, nothing less. Be yourself. Tell your story. Let people see that omegas aren't statistics or policy numbers. We're real people with real lives. I picked up the pen that was lying on his desk. My hand trembled as I brought it to the signature line. Then I signed my name, Alan Hayes. The moment the pen left the paper, Gage reached across and gently took my hand. Thank you, he said. And there was real emotion in his voice. You're brave. Braver than you know. I wasn't sure about that. But as I sat there in his office, his warm hand holding mine, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. The next morning, I woke up in a bed that probably cost more than my entire apartment's furniture combined. Gage hadn't wasted any time. After I'd signed the contract yesterday, he'd had his assistant arrange for movers to pack up my things from my old place. By evening, I was standing in the guest suite seat his penthouse, trying to process how dramatically my life had just changed. The suite was larger than my entire previous apartment. It had a bedroom with an actual walk-in closet, a private bathroom with a tub I could practically swim in, and a sitting area with windows that overlooked the city. Everything was decorated in soft, neutral tones, clearly expensive but not ostentatious. And then there was the nursery. Gage had shown it to me last night, opening a door I'd assumed was another closet. Instead, I'd found a fully equipped baby room. Crib, changing table, rocking chair, shelves already stocked with diaper and supplies. The walls were painted a gentle sage green, and there were blackout curtains for nap time. When did you have time to do all this? I'd asked in disbelief. I made some calls, he'd said simply, as if having an entire nursery designed and installed overnight was perfectly normal. Now in the morning light, I was still trying to wrap my head around it all. I got out of bed and walked to the window. From up here, the city looked different. Cleaner, more organized, like maybe the world made sense from this height. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message from Gage: "Coffee is ready in the kitchen. Take your time. We have a media consultant coming at 10. Media consultant. Right. 'Cause today we were supposed to start preparing for the press conference that would announce everything." My stomach twisted with anxiety. I showered and dressed in some of the new clothes that had been delivered last night. Maternity wear that actually fit properly, not the stretched out shirts I'd been making do with. When I made my way to the kitchen, I found Gage already there, dressed in casual clothes for once, dark jeans and a fitted gray sweater that made his eyes look even more intense. "Good morning," he said, pouring coffee into a mug. "Decaf for you." And I had some pastries brought up. I accepted the mug gratefully and sat at the kitchen island. The pastries were from an expensive bakery I'd walked past 100 times, but never entered. "You didn't have to go to all this trouble." "It's not trouble," Gage said, sitting across from me. "You need to eat well. For the baby." There was something almost protective in the way he said it, like he'd already appointed himself as some kind of guardian for both of us. It should have felt presumptuous, but instead it just felt safe. "Are you nervous about today?" he asked. "Terrified," I admitted. "I've never done anything like this before. I don't know how to talk to media consultants or how to handle press conferences. What if I say something wrong?" "You won't," Gage assured me. "The consultant is there to help you feel prepared, not to put words in your mouth. Remember what I said, just tell your truth. That's all anyone can ask." The consultant arrived exactly at 10. Her name was Miranda Chen, and she was a sharp-dressed beta woman with kind eyes and an efficient manner. She set up her laptop at Gage's dining table and spent the next 2 hours walking me through what to expect. "The key is to stay grounded in your experience," Miranda explained. "When reporters ask questions, don't try to speak for all omegas, or make broad political statements. Talk about what happened to you specifically. How it felt. What you needed. That authenticity is what will resonate with people." We practiced mock interviews, with Miranda throwing increasingly difficult questions at me. "Mr. Hayes, some people say you're just using this situation to get money from a wealthy alpha. How do you respond?" The first few times I fumbled my answers, getting defensive or flustered. But gradually I found my footing. "I'm not using anyone. I'm telling my story because it matters. Because other omegas deserve better than what I got." "Good," Miranda said approvingly. "Stay calm. Stay focused on the facts. Don't let them bait you into emotional reactions." By the time she left that afternoon, I felt marginally more prepared. But the real test would come tomorrow when we actually faced the press. That evening, Gage ordered dinner from a restaurant that apparently delivered to penthouse addresses. We ate together in his living room, the city lights twinkling below us. "You did well today," he said between bites of his meal. "Miranda sent me her notes. She thinks you're going to handle this beautifully." "I hope she's right," I said, pushing food around my plate. My appetite had disappeared as my anxiety grew. Gage noticed. "You need to eat, Alan. Stress isn't good for you right now." "I know," I sighed. "It's just, this is all happening so fast. 2 days ago I was getting my claim denied. Now I'm living in a penthouse and preparing to go on national news. It doesn't feel real." "It's real," Gage said gently. "And I know it's overwhelming. But you're not alone in this. I'm going to be standing right beside you tomorrow. If you need to take a break, we take a break. If you need me to field a question, I will. We're partners in this. Partners. The word hung in the air between us, meaning more than just a business arrangement. Later that night, I lay in bed, unable to sleep. My mind kept running through all the possible ways tomorrow could go wrong. What if I froze up on camera? What if I said something that made everything worse? My phone lit up with a message. Gage. Can't sleep either? I smiled despite my anxiety. Me. How did you know I was awake? Gage, I can hear you pacing through the walls. Come to the kitchen. I'll make you some warm milk. It'll help. I found him already there when I arrived, heating milk in a small saucepan on the stove. He changed into comfortable clothes, sweatpants and a t-shirt that showed off his muscular build. My mother used to make this for me when I couldn't sleep, he said, pouring the warm milk into a mug and adding a touch of honey. It actually works. We sat together at the kitchen island, sipping our drinks in comfortable silence. Outside, the city was still awake, cars moving far below us like tiny ants. Can I ask you something? I ventured. Of course. Your mother, what was she like? Gage's expression softened in a way I'd never seen before. Strong. Incredibly strong. She worked 2 jobs to support us after my father left. She never complained, never made me feel like I was a burden. Even when she was sick, she kept telling me everything would be fine. I'm sorry you lost her, I said quietly. Me too, he replied. Every day. But maybe something good can come from it now. If we can change things so no other Omega has to go through what she did. I understood then why this mattered so much to him. This wasn't about business or public image. This was about honoring his mother's memory by making sure her suffering meant something. We're going to make a difference, I said with more confidence than I felt. Tomorrow we're going to tell the truth, and it's going to matter. Gage met my eyes and smiled, a real genuine smile that transformed his usually stern face. Yes, he agreed. We are. As I headed back to bed that night, I felt something shift inside me. The fear was still there, but so was determination. Tomorrow would be hard. The weeks and months ahead would be harder. But for the first time in a long time, I believed I could actually do this. I wasn't alone anymore, and somehow that made all the difference. The emergency room lights were blinding. I lay on the stretcher while monitors beeped around me and nurses moved with practiced efficiency. But my focus was entirely on one thing. My baby. Is the baby okay? I asked the doctor, my voice breaking with fear. Dr. Kim, a calm beta woman with gentle eyes, smiled reassuringly. Your baby is perfectly fine, Mr. Hayes. These were false labor pains, stress-induced. They're quite common in Omega pregnancies, especially during the 2nd trimester when emotional stress levels are elevated. Relief flooded through me so powerfully I felt dizzy. Thank God. But then her expression turned serious. However, you need complete rest, both emotionally and physically. If you don't reduce your stress levels, these pains could return, and next time they might be more serious. Your MOE is warning you to slow down. I nodded, guilt washing over me. This was happening because of everything I'd taken on. The contract, the media attention, the constant pressure. My baby was paying the price for my decisions. When I tried to sit up, the door burst open. Gage stood there, his shirt wrinkled and untucked, his hair disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it repeatedly. His eyes held raw panic. Are you all right? He asked, crossing the room in 3 quick strides. Yes, I managed. The baby too. He closed his eyes briefly, as if offering a silent prayer of gratitude. Then he took my hand, his grip firm and warm. Don't scare me like that again, he said, trying to sound light but failing to hide his genuine fear. I squeezed his hand back. I'll do my best. But when we left the hospital, everything changed. Camera flashes exploded in our faces. Reporters surrounded us, shouting questions over each other in a cacophony of noise and aggression. Mr. Lawson, is it true you've restructured your entire company for one Omega? Mr. Hayes, you're living with Gage Lawson now. Is that baby his? Is this relationship real or just a publicity stunt? My head spun. The world tilted dangerously. Gage immediately moved to shield me, signaling to security as he guided me toward the waiting car. No comment, he said coldly, his alpha presence radiating warning. But the media didn't stop. They pressed closer, cameras clicking, voices rising. By the time we got into the car, my hands were shaking. Gage gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. "It's begun," he said quietly. "What has?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "The scandal." By the next morning, we were everywhere. The headlines screamed from every news outlet. "Billionaire Alpha restructures insurance empire for pregnant Omega." "Gage Lawson's secret baby?" "Omega waiter moves into luxury penthouse." "Romance or corporate strategy?" The truth behind Silver Peak's shocking changes. I couldn't look at my phone. Every social media platform was flooded with my photos. Working at the cafe, leaving the hospital, walking beside Gage. Strangers had become instant experts on my life, my choices, my character. Some comments were supportive. "Finally an alpha who actually cares. This is what change looks like." But many were vicious. "He's obviously using Gage for money. Typical gold digger Omega. I bet that baby isn't even real. This is all staged." I set my phone down, placing my hand protectively over my stomach. The baby kicked, as if reminding me they were very real, very present. Gage entered my room carrying coffee. "Have you seen the news?" I nodded silently. He sat beside me on the bed. "Alan," he said, his voice gentle but serious. "If this becomes too much to handle, we can terminate the contract. I won't force you to continue if you're not comfortable." I met his eyes. He meant it. He was genuinely giving me an out. But running away wouldn't solve anything. It wouldn't help the other Omegas who needed what we were trying to build. "No," I said firmly. "I want to keep going. You've done so much for me already. And maybe this is exactly what needs to happen. If my story helps even one other Omega, then all of this will be worth it." Gage smiled. A real, genuine smile that transformed his usually stern features. "Then tomorrow we hold the press conference. And we tell them everything." The press conference was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon. I sat on the stage beside Gage, facing a sea of cameras and recording equipment. Bright lights heated my skin. Reporters filled every seat, notebooks ready. Expressions hungry for information. My heart pounded so hard I was certain everyone could hear it. Gage began speaking. His voice steady and authoritative. But then he did something unexpected. He reached over and took my hand. Right there, in front of everyone. "I'm here to clarify some things," he announced. "Alan Hayes is my business partner. Yes, he's pregnant, but this baby is not mine." The room fell silent. You could have heard a pin drop. This is Alan's baby. His choice. His life. I'm supporting him because it's the right thing to do. My company wronged him, discriminated against him, and denied him basic healthcare coverage during one of the most vulnerable times in his life. I'm correcting that injustice. Not just for Alan, but for every Omega who has been mistreated by Silver Peak Insurance. He turned to look at me, his gray eyes intense. Alan is courageous. He's standing here despite knowing how much judgment he'll face. And I want every Omega to receive the support and respect they deserve. This isn't just about insurance policies. This is about dignity, about treating people like human beings instead of statistics. For a moment, nothing happened. Then someone started clapping. Slowly at first, then others joined in until applause filled the room. I looked at Gage, tears threatening to spill down my cheeks. For the first time since this all began, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we were doing something that truly mattered. That evening, I stood on the penthouse balcony, watching the city lights twinkle below. The press conference had gone better than expected, but I was exhausted, emotionally drained in a way I'd never experienced before. "You handled that incredibly well," Gage said, stepping out to join me. "I didn't do much. You did all the talking. You were there. That's what mattered. People saw you, saw your strength. That's powerful, Alan." I turned to face him. "Do you really think this will change anything? Or are we just creating temporary noise that everyone will forget about next week?" Gage moved closer, his alpha scent wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. "Real change takes time. But yes, I believe what we're doing matters. Every Omega who sees your story and feels less alone, that matters. Every policy we rewrite to be more fair, that matters. Every person who starts questioning why discrimination was acceptable in the first place, that matters too." His conviction was absolute, unwavering. And standing there beside him, I found myself believing it too. "Thank you," I said softly, "for everything. For not giving up on this. Thank you." he replied, for trusting me enough to take this journey together. The moment felt significant somehow, like we were standing at the edge of something important. The scandal would continue. The criticism wouldn't stop. But we were in this together now, and that made all the difference. As I headed inside to rest, I realized something had shifted between us. This wasn't just a business arrangement anymore. Somewhere along the way, it had become something deeper, something neither of us had planned for, and I wasn't sure if that terrified me or gave me hope. I thought the press conference would be the hardest part. I was wrong. A week later, Gage received an envelope at his office. Plain white paper, no return address, hand-delivered by someone who disappeared before security could question them. I was visiting the office that day. Gage wanted me involved in the rebuilding process so people could see this was a genuine partnership, not just empty words. I walked into his office just as he opened the envelope. His face went completely dark. "What's wrong?" I asked, concerned by his sudden change in demeanor. Without speaking, he handed me the envelope. Inside was a photograph of me standing outside the cafe where I still worked part-time. I was alone, unguarded, vulnerable. Beneath the photo, written in neat handwriting, was a message: "Reverse your policy changes or your new project ends permanently." My blood turned to ice. "This is a threat," I whispered, the paper trembling in my hands. Gage immediately pulled out his phone and made a call. "Get the security team to my office. Now." His voice was steel cold, commanding, dangerous. He turned to me and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Protective fury. "Starting today, you don't go anywhere alone. Bodyguard, driver, 24/7 protection. Gage." "Alan." He said my name with such finality that I stopped arguing. "I will not let anything happen to you. Do you understand me?" I nodded, but inside I was terrified. This wasn't just about media scrutiny anymore. Someone wanted to hurt me, wanted to use me as leverage to force Gage to abandon his reforms. The next few days felt suffocating. Bodyguards accompanied me everywhere. To the cafe because I'd insisted on keeping my job. To doctor appointments even inside the penthouse. I was safe, protected, watched constantly, but I also felt trapped, like a prisoner in a gilded cage. One night, unable to sleep, I went out to the balcony. The city stretched below me, millions of lights representing millions of lives, all of them free to move without armed guards following their every step. "You're not okay," Gage said, appearing beside me. "I'm fine," I lied. He gently took my hand. "Alan, talk to me, please." And suddenly, everything I'd been holding back came pouring out. "I'm scared," I admitted, my voice cracking. "I'm scared something will happen to the baby. I'm scared you'll get hurt because of me. Maybe I should just break the contract. Maybe this was all a terrible mistake." "No." Gage cupped my face in his hands, forcing me to meet his eyes. "This isn't a mistake, and I'm never letting you face this alone." His scent, cedar and smoke, surrounded me, calming my frantic thoughts. "You don't understand," I said, tears falling freely now. "I'm just an omega. I'm nobody special. I'm not worth all this trouble." "You're everything," Gage interrupted, his voice thick with emotion. I stared at him, shocked into silence. "You brought me back to life, Alan," he continued quietly. "For years I've been functioning like a machine. Just work, just business, no feeling, no connection to anything real. After my mother died, I shut down emotionally because it was easier than facing the pain. But you reminded me why I'm doing all of this. You made me care again." His thumb brushed away my tears. "I've become attached to you," he confessed. "I know that wasn't part of our contract, but I can't help it anymore. I can't imagine my life without you in it." My heart stopped. "Gage, I'm in love with you, Alan." The words hung in the air between us, heavy with meaning and possibility. No one had ever said that to me before. No one had ever looked at me the way Gage was looking at me now, like I was precious, irreplaceable, worth protecting at any cost. I didn't think, I just acted. I kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative, testing, but then Gage pulled me closer and the kiss deepened. His alpha scent mixed with my omega scent, creating something new, something uniquely ours. When we finally pulled apart, both breathless, Gage pressed his forehead against mine. "I will protect you," he promised. "Always. No matter what." I believed him, but the next day those promises were tested. I was heading to a routine prenatal appointment. My bodyguard Marcus in the front seat, me in the back. Everything seemed normal. Traffic was light. The sun was shining. Then at an intersection, another car ran the red light at full speed. Everything happened in slow motion and too fast all at once. I saw the car coming, heard Marcus shout a warning, felt the impact as metal crunched and glass shattered. Marcus threw himself backward, his body shielding me from the worst of it. Pain exploded through my head. The world spun violently. Then everything went black. I woke up in the hospital again. Beeping monitors, white walls, antiseptic smell. My hand immediately went to my stomach. Baby, I gasped. Panic overwhelming every other thought. Calm down, sweetheart, Dr. Kim said, appearing at my bedside. Your baby is fine, you have a minor concussion and some bruising, but both of you are going to be okay. Marcus protected you, he took the brunt of the impact. Relief made me weak. But then memory returned. The crash, was it an accident? Dr. Kim hesitated. Before she could answer, the door opened and Gage rushed in. He looked terrible. His face was pale, his eyes red-rimmed like he hadn't slept. When he saw me awake, something in his expression broke. Alan. He said my name like a prayer, like he'd been terrified he'd never say it again. He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. I'm so sorry, he whispered against my hair. I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you. What happened? I asked, gripping his shirt. Tell me the truth. Gage pulled back enough to look at me, his jaw clenched with barely controlled rage. It wasn't an accident. The police reviewed traffic camera footage. That car deliberately targeted yours. They tracked the license plate to a shell company, but we know who's really behind it. My stomach dropped. Who? Board members, he said, the words coming out like ice. Senior executives who opposed my reforms. They thought if you were gone, I'd reverse everything to avoid more trouble. They were willing to commit murder to protect their profits. I felt sick. That's insane. That's criminal, Gage finished. And they're going to pay for it. The police are involved. We have evidence. They won't get away with this. He stood up, his entire body radiating fury. I'm going to destroy them for what they tried to do to you. I grabbed his hand, pulling him back. If you destroy them with revenge, you become just like them. Please, Gage. Do this the right way. Legal action. Proper justice. Don't compromise who you are because of what they did. He looked at me for a long moment, then slowly nodded. For you, he agreed. I'll do it the right way. For you. 1 week later, Gage called an emergency board meeting. I insisted on attending despite Dr. Kim's orders for bed rest. This was my fight too, and I needed to see it through. We compromised. I would participate via video call from the penthouse, watching everything unfold on screen. The boardroom was packed. 20 executives sat around the massive conference table, their expressions ranging from nervous to hostile. Gage stood at the head, commanding the room with his presence alone. Gentlemen and ladies, he began, his voice cutting through the tension. We're here to address several serious issues that have come to light regarding this company's operations and certain individuals' criminal activities. He pulled up the first slide on the screen behind him. CCTV footage from the intersection where my car had been hit. The room watched in silence as the other vehicle deliberately swerved into our lane, timing the impact perfectly. This, Gage said, is attempted murder. Traffic analysis confirmed the other driver had multiple opportunities to stop but chose not to. Phone records show they received a call from this number moments before the crash. He displayed a phone number on screen. This number belongs to Mr. Dalton's personal cell phone. Dalton shot to his feet. This is outrageous. You can't possibly. Sit down, Gage commanded, his alpha authority filling the room. Dalton sat. We also have financial records showing embezzlement, Gage continued, pulling up another slide. Funds redirected from Omega healthcare claims into offshore accounts controlled by 4 individuals in this room. Email correspondence discussing to maximize denials to increase profits, and detailed plans to intimidate or eliminate anyone who threatened to expose this operation. One by one he presented the evidence, each piece more damning than the last. I watched the board members' faces go pale, watched them realize there was no way out. You're all terminated effective immediately, Gage declared. Furthermore, I'm turning over all evidence to law enforcement. They're waiting outside to take you into custody for questioning regarding charges of fraud, conspiracy and attempted murder." Dalton stood again, desperation making him bold. "You can't do this. This company doesn't belong to you alone. The shareholders have been fully briefed." Gage interrupted smoothly. "They've given me their complete support. They're as disgusted by your actions as I am. In fact, they've approved several major changes to Tom's structure." He pulled up one final document on screen. "Effective today, Silver Peak Insurance operates under new ownership. A 50-50 partnership between myself and Alan Hayes. All legal documents have been signed and filed. Alan is now officially co-owner of this company." I stared at my screen in shock. Co-owner? He'd made me co-owner? Gage looked directly at the camera, directly at me, and smiled. "He earned it," he said simply. 3 months passed in a blur of legal proceedings, company restructuring and careful healing. Dalton and his associates were indicted on multiple charges. The trial would take time, but the evidence was overwhelming. They would face justice. Silver Peak Insurance underwent a complete transformation. New policies were implemented ensuring fair treatment for all omegas, regardless of relationship status. Independent oversight committees were established. Transparency became our cornerstone principle. And me? I spent those months preparing for the biggest change of all. Now I lay in a hospital bed for the 3rd time. But this time was different. This time was joyful. Contractions racked my body as labor progressed. Nurses moved around me with practiced efficiency. Dr. Kim coached me through each push, and Gage never left my side. "You can do this," he encouraged, holding my hand through another contraction. "Just a little more. I'm right here with you." Then I heard it. The most beautiful sound in the world. A baby's cry. "It's a boy," Dr. Kim announced, placing the tiny perfect bundle on my chest. I sobbed with joy and relief. My son. My beautiful son. His little face scrunched up as he cried, his tiny fists waving in the air. Gage leaned over us both, tears streaming down his face. "He's perfect," he whispered. "You did it, Alan. You're amazing." "We did it," I corrected, smiling through my tears. Gage kissed my forehead gently, then pressed a soft kiss to our son's head. "I want to marry you," he said quietly. "Not because of contracts or business arrangements. I want to be your Herb. I want to be a father to Jerry. I want us to be a real family, legally, officially, forever." I looked up at this alpha who had changed my entire life, who had fought for me when no one else would, who had fallen in love with me despite every reason not to. "Yes," I said. "Yes, I want that too." 1 year later, everything had changed. Silver Peak Insurance was now the nation's leading Omega-friendly insurance provider. Our policies had become the industry standard. Other companies were following our example, afraid of being left behind as public opinion shifted. Gage and I were married in a simple ceremony with close friends and family. Nothing elaborate, just honest vows and genuine love. And Jerry was walking now, taking wobbly steps around my office while babbling happily to himself. My office. Because I was co-owner of a major corporation now, with actual responsibilities and decision-making power. It still felt surreal sometimes. Gage entered carrying our son, both of them grinning. "Ready for lunch?" he asked. "Absolutely," I said, standing and stretching. We walked through the building together. Jerry perched on Gage's shoulders. Employees smiled and greeted us respectfully, not with the fake corporate politeness I'd feared, but with genuine warmth. They believed in what we'd built here. They were proud to be part of it. In the cafeteria, Jerry reached for me saying "Dada," clear as day. His newest word and his favorite. Gage took my hand as we sat down together, completely unashamed of the public display of affection. "I love you," he said simply. "I love you too," I replied, and I meant it with everything I had. This strange, unexpected journey had given me more than I'd ever dreamed possible. A partner, a family, a purpose. Looking at Gage and Jerry, I realized I'd found something I hadn't even known I was searching for. I'd found home.